Thank you, everybody. Welcome to Being the Change. You are the solution. Our TV series is dedicated to listening to our community, to hearing what it is that you think will be the best way to solve our shared problems. Being the change means being who you think you're supposed to be to make your world a better place, to make your community work better, to help your family and friends. We're here today with a fantastic group of people in our community, a very diverse group of people with very differing points of view. And we're here to listen to what you guys all have to say. We want to know what it is that's troubling you, what it is that your friends and family and loved ones are suffering from, so that we can help. We want to bring together the resources within our community to meet your needs, to meet your family's needs, to meet your friends' needs, but we need to know what your needs are. We need to know what's missing, what's not working. We also want to know what it is that you know. We want to know what solutions that you have, because you all have individual, distinct lives where you're interacting with society, interacting with businesses and government and people. So you know better than we do how your life is working and what's not working within it. So this is our opportunity as a community to come together, to put those ideas on the table so we can come up with some solutions, create action plans, implement those action plans, and over the next 12 months, follow the progress as we all work together, being the change who we want to be. Because it is us who is the solution. Our hosts today, Deb Slater from Experience Northwest, Ramona Abbott, thanks so much for being here. Let's get to work. Let's get some ideas on the table and start solving some problems.
Thoughts? Making ends meet, indeed.
And can you be a little more specific? What specifically is
Well, there's
the
a
issue?
huge amount of people in Bellingham that are considered working poor, and they don't make enough money to support their families, and there's not enough government funding to help them, because if you make X amount of money, the government will decide, oh wait, you make $5 over the limit of the poverty line, and so we can't help you. But at the same time, it's not enough to buy food, pay the rent, and any medical bills that crop up. There's absolutely no way.
Living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. Our city basically lives hand to mouth. A great majority of people do.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes.
Accessible health care for the uninsured.
Can you say that again, Gary?
I'm sorry, accessible health care for the uninsured?
Okay, excellent. Yes, Colin.
Sustainable urban growth.
What does that mean?
Making sure our city doesn't outgrow its own capabilities and start overtaking the countryside that surrounds it.
Smart growth. Anybody else have any ideas on some things that are plaguing us as a city right now? Michelle?
Well, back to item one, people that are on food stamps right now are really being pressed further down because they keep cutting back on food stamps for people who have no money.
I think that basically the town has lost a lot of jobs in the last several years, and they aren't being replaced with livable wage jobs. So I think that the job market is poor, and the wages are poor, and I think the town needs more jobs. You know, there's this town here that could be so beautifully quaint and welcoming to people, but there's so much traffic zooming around that it makes it kind of uncomfortable to be around on the streets. And you know, if going to Taekwondo is going to take you 20 or 25 minutes instead of 5, think of all that pollution that's happening too. And you know, there's a lot of talk about being green, and I'm a green advocate. There's a lot of talk about sustainable living, and I'm an advocate for that. There's all these wonderful nonprofits here. There's this big buy local movement here. But if we don't bring money in from outside somehow, the economic well-being of this area is just going to spiral down and down. You can't maintain a community that's losing jobs unless you bring money in from outside somehow. So I think we have a really deep and pervasive economic problem that has a cultural component that needs to be resolved.
Say the community seems to be lacking a sense of like civic pride. And like you just see the for as small of a town it is, the amount of graffiti and the amount of trash, and just people are starting to not wait for the old lady to cross the street. I mean, people don't seem to be caring about how the town is represented, and how they represent themselves within it. There's just a complete lack of human kindness. That's it, not a lack of it, but it seems to be diminishing over the last few years, especially, like noticeably.
So you've noticed a visible change over time?
Yeah, and maybe it's because there are businesses shutting down, but you go to any empty business and it's disgusting, the state that they're in, like fields everywhere, the amount of blown trash bags all over the place and stuff that's just allowed to sit even in residential areas anymore. I mean, people used to clean those at least, and it was just vacant lots that were going downhill, but now you go to any community and the amount of just visible trash, I mean, people have it seems they're giving up.
Excellent, thank you.
I mean, on that same note, there's also this interesting sense of apathy, and in a way it's the city of subdued excitement. We choose not to address certain things. We choose not to acknowledge things. I mean, there's 175 reported domestic violence cases since the beginning of the year, and we aren't looking at those issues. We aren't focusing on those things. We're just continuing on in this same monotony and subdued excitement rather than looking at the rest of the world and looking at how the problems that face everyone in this country also face us.
Excitement. I think Bellingham badly needs more excitement. I think we need more respect, touching on what he was saying about people not letting people walk across the street. We need more respect. We need more motivation. People need to be more motivated to create their own jobs. Yeah, we're losing jobs, but Bellingham, I thought in the past, was always that place where people created their own future and were working towards creating things that they wanted to be. And that's what I want to see more of.
Well, it seems like all the things we're talking about are issues that every city and every community have. So it isn't like Bellingham has suddenly lost it. It's like this is how our nation and how our world has become. So I think as we try to figure out, what I'm feeling is like a disconnect, human disconnect. People they don't know their neighbors. How can you love your neighbor if you don't even know your neighbor? So you have this separation of your work and your school and your this, and everything's all separate, and people you don't know, you don't have a circle of friends, and you don't have people you can call on or something. I think there's just, what we're talking about are all issues that we as human beings are facing in our modern society. So I welcome the idea of picking it all together and kind of saying, well, wow, maybe we could do it bit by bit by relating to the people next door across the street, or those people down the road who have a yard sign that reflects a different political point of view, etc. So what if we could do that here? Connect with people of differing points of view, because we do tend to stay in our own little groups, I bet.
And we can. I found lately one of my main objectives is to be able to have a normal dialogue with people who are of the totally opposite spectrum, like the people who run this place. Joel is an amazing person. We had the most amazing conversation, and him and I are probably about as opposite on the political spectrum as possible. And we both, the same exact thing at the end of the day is that we care about each other, our children, our community, and we want things to be better. And what you'll find is with anybody you meet, we all have that same shared vision, that we really just want to be able to enjoy our life, be free, do the things that we love to do, take care of our friends and family, and work a job that we feel good about, that we enjoy doing, be able to make a living wage off of it so we can afford to do things and have a little vacation from time to time and have time to be with our family. That's really what we all want. And despite all those differences, that is what brings us together. And those are the issues that we can come together around, is being sure that everybody has all their fundamental human needs met. Everybody has what they need, because in a society where people have what they need, they're much more able to have time to read and make music and do things of importance and give them happiness and spirituality and to develop their culture. And without those things, with struggling from day to day to day, you just don't have that time to actually develop yourself as a person, to exercise and have time to be with your friends and family and be happy. So if we can get all those needs met, then we'd be so much more able to actually have these conversations with people who are different from us, because we're not going to be so stressed and so uptight. So I really think that we can have these conversations with people who are really different. And you'd find if you actually stepped out and try to have these conversations with people who believe very differently from you, if you get to the core of it, we all feel really the same way about a lot of things. There are some major things that we disagree with, but the core about humanity, about life, about family, about justice, there is a lot of commonalities that we can find amongst each other.
That you said, once we have our basic needs met, then we can get down to those things like music and reading and joining. But I say let's do it before, because if we can share music and culture and art and happiness and joy and community and potlucks and all sorts of gardens and things that make you feel like you're in a community, if we could share all that, then maybe we see, first of all, our basic needs aren't quite as much as we thought they were. Maybe we have more of them met than we realize. And maybe we don't need all those things we thought we needed. So we start, and then, we could borrow something from so-and-so down the road. And, so you begin to develop cooperative culture that's different from the way it is now. We do not have a cooperative culture now. It's very separate. So what can we do about it?
I totally agree. It's the cart before the horse. Because if you're going to be the change, then you find a way to be happy and connect with people, even though maybe you don't have as much money as you'd like to have and you're not taking the vacations you'd like to take, and maybe even it's tough to pay the rent every month. That does not mean you can't go out in this community and listen to free music several nights all summer long, connect with your neighbors, get to know them. Maybe they will invite you to dinner, and then you share food. And if you do that first, if you become the change you want to see first, my belief is then you will find your needs being met.
True. I'd like to make a comment on this. Now, one of the things that I've noticed, though, is that a lot of people, this is a group of pretty successful, well-educated people who are doing stuff, making music, making art. This is kind of a unique collection of people here. There are a lot of people, like from my family and people who I know, who can't think about these things. They're depressed, sick, going through horrible health issues, going through bankruptcies and mortgage foreclosures and all kinds of horrible things, abuse in their childhood, and have had very terrible experiences in their life. And for them to just go and have potlucks and meet random people is really not as easy as it is for the rest of us here. So that's one of the obstacles that we're going to have to face, is to be able to help those people who are sick and going through really difficult times get some of their needs met so that they can have time to be with people too. It's not as simple to just say, hey, it's your fault that you're not out there going to these potlucks and going to these free music and stuff. Some of them are so sick and miserable and depressed, though, that they can't get out of their funk. They just can't get out of it. So we do have to have some compassion for those people who haven't figured out yet how to get out of that space, because there are a lot of people who I know and love and who work really hard who can't get out of that space because they're just sick or depressed or something. So.
But my point would be, and I think the one that you were making, is that the way I would help people would be to show them how they could take one evening and go have a good time and see the difference that would make to take their minds away from those things that you mentioned that they're struggling with. It's not been that long ago I was having many of those same issues, and the way I got out of that was to force myself to walk away from the problems for a certain period of time and go find some way to enjoy myself.
And go take them a cup of soup, or a pot of soup. I mean, if your neighbor is sick, for heaven's sakes, hopefully you'll be there for them. So that's the other thing we can do as better neighbors.